What's happening, guys? I know it's been a long time, but I've got some brand new news for you, and what do you know? We have a brand new league. But first of all, cue in the intro. This is the SBN, the Showdown Battle Network. Hopefully I got that right, knock on wood. I'm pretty sure I did. I did good, guys. But yeah, I'm your coach of the Swablu Cap. If you don't know me already, or if you haven't seen me, then check out other videos. I'm pretty sure my face is around there. I'm pretty sure. And yeah, so I'll give you guys some background information in terms of the points, what I was thinking about in the draft, and other stuff, other random tidbits of information that I can think of. So first of all, we're going to start with the background information of the draft. So we're allowed to have 115 points. Sounds great, right? You know, first paycheck, you're like, oh snap, I've got money, I'm just gonna make it splash, I'm gonna make it rain, I'm just gonna go ham on this money. Delicious. Bringing the bacon in the house, eating it, cooking it, making some nice BTLs, I guess. Bacon, tomato, lettuce. Delicious. But later down the road, you realize, oh snap, I have 2 more weeks to live. I spent all this money on one day, and snap, I just gotta eat peanut butter and jelly for the rest of the week. Story of my life. Story of my life. So pretty much what happened in this league too. 3 picks in, the Pokemon were really priced high, and I later on realized that I had to draft like 8 more Pokemon. We're only allowed to draft 11 Pokemon, so I was just like, okay, this is sort of bad. I gotta be careful on how I spend my money. So later down the road I realized it, and you know, you gotta be, you learn from your mistakes and you grow a bit wiser. We become better people. But anywho, so this perhaps was one of the toughest drafts that I've ever been in, just because of that sole reason. It was just the points. It sounds like a broken record, and I know if Hera does watch this, he's gonna be like, if you say points one more time, Cap, I'm gonna physically or just mentally give you a kind gesture of a thumbs up. And I agree with you, because yeah, the points were not good. Hopefully not putting just playing around, man, just playing around. So anywho, yeah, so the points were a bit rough on me, and it was tough. So yeah, we had to really compromise with a lot of things. So the way that I approached the draft was that I wanted to build a solid core. So in terms of solid, I drafted like Charizard X, Scizor, and Florges. Come on, that's a pretty, if not the best fantasy core in the league. This is a solid core all around. There we go. And that's because they can do all different things. Like, we've got a Will Whisper, we've got a Defogger. El Capitan can be a Defogger too, why not, right? Heaven forbid it. Heaven forbid El Capitan runs Defog. It's just bad. Mod is just a good clerk all around. It can be a solid special attacker. Mega Charizard can be run as a mix mod. And they just complement each other so well. The chemistry, the relationship that each Pokemon has with each other, they build off of each other so well, and it's just so good. And I'm super hyped to just use this core, because I really wanted a solid core. I think we were placed 11th in the draft, so we were like way down the road, and I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna pick up something that's really good, because I want to pick up something that's pretty good. So I ended up picking up Charizard X, and then I could easily pair it up with a good steel type. And with the introduction of like Tapus, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna end up with a really good Tapu. After that, I can sort of build off of it. And Florges was still around, so I ended up drafting Florges. After that, I realized that I didn't have a lot of points, so I had to be really careful in terms of that. This picture that you're looking at right now is sort of like a recreation of how, like, the order that I drafted. So El Capitan was number 1, Scizor, Florges, Ditto, Seismitoad, Cofagris, Virizion, Rotom, and then Cryogenal, and then so on. So that's how I sort of just drafted in terms of the order. I knew I was going to draft Ditto right away, and that's something that I really wanted, because the mind games that it plays with people is just phenomenal in terms of prep, in terms of in-game. It's just a whole mental game, and I really like using Ditto. I've seen Ditto used effectively, and I have used Ditto effectively too. So, and plus Ditto won't be used against me in terms of like El Capitan. I know one of my plans in the future was like, alright, I'm gonna counter El Capitan with Ditto, because, you know, if he gets a couple of Dragon Dances, I'm just Dragon Clawing for days. Catch these Dragon Claws. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good chemistry. In terms of like Ditto and Zork, I know that it seems a bit odd to have these Pokemon on a team together, and that's because I just really wanted to play with two Pokemon that put in a lot of mind games. Like, we're only allowed to have one Pokemon with a Z move that is offensive. We're not allowed any supporting Z moves. And Zork allows just such doubt in a person. If people see Zork, people are like, oh man, is he going for a Z move? Is he going for a Z move? And can he KO me with that Z move? Or is this Zork? Or is it not? And yeah, plus the move pool that Zork has, it is huge. It is phenomenal. It is great. Like Stab, Dark Pulse is just great. So I'm excited to use Zork in terms of this. Lots of mind games. And that's what I really wanted to build too. Later down the road, you can see like I drafted, like, to explain my 4-point picks. I didn't really need to really dig that deep, but it was just sort of like a safety net because I was one of the few teams that actually could make some changes later on and actually use up some points. I have 5 extra points, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's quite decent because you can pick up a 9-point Pokemon with just dropping like Mr. Freeze or Rotom. So it's something that you can build in, and it's something that you can really like pick up. So it allows me to really build after the draft. It's something that's not like, oh man, I'm stuck with this team, I have to play around with numbers, I gotta do that. I still gotta play around with numbers, but it's a bit more forgiving for me. But in terms of like Rotom and Mr. Freeze, it was just for that reason. I really wanted, like, I wanted a solid Rapid Spinner. And I know you guys are like, yo, Cap. Mr. Freeze is fragile as wet paper on a snowstorm that's going through an icicle. It is that frail. Like, don't even touch it. Don't even look at it. It is that frail. But Mr. Freeze actually got a boost. So it got an extra, I do believe it got an extra 20 points. So its base stat of defense is 50. Its HP stat is 80. And that's a huge boost. It actually, I was running some calculations. Mr. Freeze can actually take a lot more hits than I was actually surprised. Like, normally it wouldn't be able to take physical hits that well, if not at all. And with the boost, it's a lot more forgiving. It's a lot more, you know, you can abuse it a bit more. So after looking at that, I was like, I need a nice type. Cryogentle fits the bill. I get a Rapid Spinner, and I think it's going to be a good fit on this team. So I end up drafting Cryogentle, plus it gives me another immunity to Earthquake, unless if Mold Breaker is a thing, or Terravolt. So that's something that I was really looking at, and I can take advantage of that. So I'm super hyped to bring in Mr. Freeze, the Cryogentle, to do some work, to do some fantastic work. And yeah, so that sort of explains my Mr. Freeze pick. I know sometimes it's more of a situational Pokemon because it's got to be on the right team, and it's got to go against the right team. And even then, I was like looking at team matchups, and I knew this Pokemon can be potentially good against some teams. So I'm really hoping it performs well, it does some work, and it takes some hits, some physical hits, and hopefully it gets off one Rapid Spin, hopefully. So and then I knew you guys are looking at, like, you know, the elephant in the room, or the coffin in the room, if you want to say. Rafflecoffin and Rotom, 2 ghost types. They do 2 different things, and this is where I realized I might have done a bit of a mistake, because of course I don't want to have 2 ghost Pokemon on my team. I'm just not a fan of it. Just the knockoff potential doesn't really sit that well with me, and I can potentially draft something a lot more better than like Rotom or Rafflecoffin. So Rafflecoffin's just a good solid hazard stacker in terms of spikes, Trick Room. It can phase out Pokemon, it has access to Will-O-Wisp, and it can really shift a tide in terms of battle if people don't prep for it. Plus, the Mummy ability is great. Rotom does a whole different thing too. It can potentially be a wall in terms of like Will-O-Wisp, Thunder Wave, just annoying like that. Discharge, access to Discharge is so nice in Will-O-Wisp and Hex. Oh, so good. And that's where I found that there was a lot of resemblance in terms of like Rotom. Rotom's more of a momentum Pokemon in terms of that. I got more bang for its buck in terms of Rotom because it was a lot less. Rafflecoffin only costs 8 points, but it is reliable in terms of it's a good defensive wall and pairs well with things like Virizion or Cryogentle. It's a good solid Rapid Spin blocker, and it can potentially let me build up a lot of momentum in terms of that. So I've used Rafflecoffin a couple times. I've never used 8-bit, the Rotom, so I'm a bit iffy. I'm a bit doubtful, but I think I can do some great things with it, you know. Hopefully, I've seen this thing used so many times, so well, so good, so fantastic. And then, in terms of what I was trying to build next, I sort of looked at the fire, grass, water core too, just in case if I need it. AlrightKap V10 is so versatile, so I can switch it up with like Moly, the Seismitoad, and Virizion, Verizon, the Virizion. I gotta switch that up. That's an error on my end. Virizion, the Virizion. Vira. Anywho, so I can sort of build a fire, grass, water core, not as great as the fantasy core, but it allows that versatility in terms of that, because like Moly is great in terms of setting up stealth rocks. One of my few hazard setters in terms of like Lycanroc, Cofagris, and Seismitoad, which is something that I was looking into. I might address that later down the road or in life, but Moly is such a great mon for that because it gives me a water immunity in terms of water absorb. So that's something that I was really looking at in terms of like, hey, if I bring in this Pokemon, can it do work? And if it becomes like sort of an issue for me, then I feel like it's a bit hard for me because I like what Moly does, and potentially I could draft something else that can do a better job and just pick up a good solid water Pokemon. And this is what I'm thinking about like later down the road. There's just a lot of things that I like about this team, but there's a lot of things that I might want to change in terms of this team, and that's where the balance has to come at. So I'm a bit nervous about it going into our first week battle against Hera and the team that he has. And yeah, so I'm pretty hyped for this team. Great speed all around. I love the speed tiers on this team. It's hard to match the speed in terms of that. Nothing too fast, but there's no big drop in the speed section because we got access to plenty of priority like Bullet Punch, Accelerock, Sucker Punch, 8-bit launch Sucker Punch too, so that's pretty sweet. And Ice Shard, so we've got decent stuff in that. We've got setup, we just got wall breakers. We have a lot of good solid mons on this team. I might eventually pick up something more reliable in terms of hazard removal, but right now I don't think that's a big thing. I don't have a big rock weakness too, which is something that I was really trying to play around, because having AlrightKap V10, a lot of rocks are attracted to the field, and if I can get rid of those, then that's awesome. All the power to AlrightKap V10 to really wreak havoc on teams. But anywho, like I said, be sure to check out everyone else's channel. Check out the SBN on Twitter. I believe that you can... I'll link it in the description down below. I'll try to. And yeah, hopefully we pull out a W in our very first week. We have a really tough opponent, and I'm really nervous. So wish us luck. Hope you guys enjoy this. And oh yeah, shoutouts to Rapid for doing all the graphics. They look solid, man. They look solid. But anywho, thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna get going, so catch you next time. That was awkward.